Hi, everyone. I am Lori Ann. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I am with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas, and we would like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
So, in this episode, we welcome Dawna Campbell. She's an author and a mind whisperer. And we're going to learn more about that. Thank you, Dawna, for being here with us today.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be a part of your podcast, and I'm super excited.
Great. So, the term mind whisperer, that's something I've never heard before. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yes, absolutely. The first part of my career life, I was a financial advisor and a managing principal for an investment firm. And then when I transitioned out of that field, I studied meditation, brainwaves. I lived in an ashram for a year. And I went back to my natural intuitive healing abilities, not only for myself, but for other people. So then I was labeled as a healer. But healer implies that you have to heal something and that it's broken. But we're not broken. We are whole, complete, universal beings. So what happened was a friend who was understanding and learning what it was I did said, "You're kind of like a mind whisperer," because they say our thoughts create our reality. But that thought is only going to come into existence about 50% of the time. What creates the thought into reality is the emotional energy charge behind the thoughts. And that's what creates our reality. So when we have things in our life that get created that we don't want, there's an energy there that had that come in, like frustration. And maybe we needed to feel appreciated. So as a mind whisperer, what I do is I help you understand, see, and change that energy frequency, fueling the thought so you create what it is that you truly want to have in life.
So, someone would come to you and they would say, I need help. I'm depressed. I don't have any self-worth, whatever. And then you would work with them to try to work through that.
Right. So I do have an international client base, and clients want to have better health, increased wealth, or enhanced relationships. And when I sat with that, what they're really asking for is happiness, prosperity, and love. So anything in any of those categories that they want to shift and change, they would say, a client example, he said, "I want to create more in my life." And I asked him how he felt by not creating more. And he goes, "I'm really frustrated." Well, the universe was reading the energy of frustration. It was returning in all areas of his life. And he wasn't able to get to where he wanted to be. So I stepped in, we go through the process. And now a year and a half later, he is creating that more in his life because he's not frustrated with it anymore.
So he's able to change his mindset. And by doing that, his life's changed.
Absolutely. And it's all areas of the life, because say you're sending out the energy of frustration, the universe reads the energy of frustration in everything. It doesn't know if it's talking about yourself, talking about your money, talking about your love relationship or your relationship with yourself. And it happens on a subconscious level. So we're only aware of this consciously about 10% of the time. That's that little voice that goes through our head that we pay attention to sometimes. The other 90% is the subconscious. And it recorded every event and tied the emotional component in the initial event there. And it creates a repeating pattern. And then it almost becomes unconscious to what's happening. So we have to uncover the thought behind the thought behind the thought to understand what the subconscious is doing, what originally happened to make that change.
I really enjoy what you said there about when the person said, "I want to create," and you asked the question, "How do you feel if you don't?" So you're taking it the other way rather than say, I want to do. Well, what's going to happen if you don't?
Right.
That's very interesting. I like that.
That shows us what the energy is that's blocking you from having what you want. So I know what it is that I need to change.
Yeah.
So I have a really strange question. So I've been single for 15 years.
Uh-huh.
And people keep asking me, why don't you find somebody, there's the whole thing, you're smart, you're good looking. I really haven't wanted to, but there's times where I want to. But when I think about it, it's like you're saying, well, I'm not seeking it. And when I think about being in a relationship, all I think about is all the negatives.
And those are all the things stopping you from creating you moving forward to having that relationship. So those are the components that we need to look at, because in every moment, every possibility exists. You just got stuck in certain frequencies. And when we open up the door to the other ones and understand those were also there, it changes the whole component of the physical body, physically, hormonally, chemically, energetically, emotionally. So it works on all of those levels.
Wow.
Yeah, so all that emotional baggage you have is always there.
Until we change it.
And it's holding you back, right?
Yes. And we don't know that it is. And it's just because we're not aware as an energy being, we have our energy field around us and what's in there. So it's like when you are at work and you're getting ready to walk down the hallway to go to your weekly sales meeting, you know before you get to the sales meeting if it's going to be a good, happy meeting and people are going to be praised, or if your boss is not too happy and pleased and no one made their numbers. You feel that before you get there. And that's what happens in our energy field is that people around you will feel those frequencies before it happens, before as you come together in a shared energy field, and they will feel it and they will know it intuitively. They may not have the conscious recognition. So if we're sending out anxiety and depression or frustration or anger, people around you will feel that. But if you're sending out the energies of happiness and love and kindness, because the other energies don't exist there anymore, people will feel that and they will respond to you differently. It's a very intuitive process.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the person in the office. There's always a super friendly, real bubbly, real outgoing, very empathetic, person. When you're with that person, you feel kind of that way with them.
Absolutely.
And just the opposite, if you're with the guy that's always negative and all that, and that really brings you down, if you were happy when you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. The company that you keep is the most important thing that you can do for you.
Now,
It's
I have
either
an
going to bring you down.
interesting question, because I know I've been involved with like board of directors and so on. And you can have like 10 people who are in a positive state of mind and you have the one negative. Why is it that that one negative person can bring all the other 10 down? And it's the truth.
It is a truth there. A couple of things. A lower emotion like anger, or that it's heavier. So it's thicker in density for the emotion, and it stays closer to the energy body and constricts the energy field. So it's really, really dense for an emotion. The lighter feelings, the happiness, the kindness, the generosity, they're light and airy and they feel good. So what that does is it expands the energy field, and those can be felt a lot further than the heaviness of it. So if you're in your immediate circle and one person is in a denser emotion, it's going to feel more constricted and more heavy because there's a physical weight to it, even though it's emotional. And the lighter is the uplifting. And so it's about, having that one person come up. And when it brings down everybody, so if you're in joy and this person's in anger, for example, or they're just not happy, what happens is the happy people lower their energy vibration to match here for a connection. And what we need to do is bring this person up to here to match in a connection. So we don't need to lower ourselves and bring the whole group down if we understand we want to rise in energy.
Oh, it's kind of that same concept of mirror and match.
Yes. So in happiness, anger fits under it. And we only connect when we match there. And instead of lowering ourselves or having this here, we want to bring these people up and match. Yeah.
Very
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, that is. So just to go back a little bit, how did you end up going from a financial advisor to a mind whisperer? Because that seemed like just like totally in opposite directions. Okay.
Right. Well, what happened when I was in my financial planning career? I was starting to notice that there were things outside of us that we couldn't control. And after 10 years, clients weren't really any better off than what they were before. We went through 9/11, we went through the first global recession. All of these things impacted clients' portfolios and investments. Also, the stock market, mutual fund picks, all of that. Yes, we sat down, we uncovered their goals, what it was for them, but we didn't understand why they had their goals or how they felt if they achieved it or didn't achieve it. And for this career, I traded my health for it. And I wasn't able to digest food the last couple of years. So I was in and out of the hospital. I spent 30 out of 45 days. 2 years later, Western medicine wasn't able to figure out what was wrong, but I was giving my own life force energy to be in this career. I went to natural medicine to uncover, and I learned about through Chinese medicine beliefs. And when the stomach isn't digesting food, you're not feeding your body, and I couldn't digest. So there was something externally in my life that I couldn't digest. And at the time, when I was becoming healthier and I could start digesting food again, what happened and what I realized was my marriage of 14 years wasn't what I thought it was. And we were no longer in agreement and alignment. And I was in this energy field that was very angry, and it was keeping me suppressed down, which caused havoc because I internalized everything. So my health took a toll. My relationship was gone. And so what I ended up doing after we were divorced was I moved to an ashram because I was learning meditation. And I didn't want to just study meditation, and this is something I do 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day. I learned through a Zen Buddhist monk a walking meditation, which was metaphoric for everything in life is a meditation. And I went, there's something here. So I took my children, we lived in the ashram. And when I left, I became unemployable a year later because it was at the end of that whole economic crisis of 2009. And I became unemployable. So then here I am financially devastated, filing bankruptcy, single mom, 2 children, going on welfare, food stamps. And since then, I've been rebuilding my life. And then I went into all of the energy healing to uncover. And what I'm sharing today are the truths. And I'm not any different than my clients. My health, my wealth, and my relationships all ended in a 3 to a 4 year period. And then it's like, well, what do you do to come out of that, to move forward, to help yourself, help other people? So I use my processes on myself. I also use them with my clients because it works.
Wow.
Lorianne, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I kind of went through the same thing as you. I was 15 years married and kind of knew after the 10th year that it wasn't what it was, but stuck it out, loved him very much. And I had 3 kids. So I ended up, same thing. I did buy after the divorce a company. And then during the 2009, I lost everything. And like you, I mean, my children were lucky they were staying with their father who was able to support them. But me, myself, and I ended up in a barn with no running water. Not that I didn't have family to help me, but the independence part of it is really big. You don't want to go to people and say, hey, but I realize it's not failure though. And I think that what you're doing is helpful too, because the first while is, oh my goodness, I failed, I'm not good. And that sort of thing really brings you down. And what you're talking about, those thoughts move into everything. around you until you can find. I look back now and go, wow, I so had a good time with those 3 years of running that shop. And I had a
Mhm.
a hobby farm. I had tons of animals. So I look at the good now and I take that
Well,
instead
and
of the negative.
there's a difference too between people enabling and people empowering. And you said independent. And if you would have been with not necessarily, but family, help me, do this, do it would created a different cycle pattern. But instead you empowered yourself moving forward. And that's a whole different energy.
It's lovely.
Oh, she's very empowered.
I know, I see.
But
But it takes time.
you're talking. Oh, go ahead, Lori. No,
No,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, but it takes time, like something like that, the process with help with you, Dawna, obviously it's going to be a much likely a much smoother and quicker process. But regardless of that, it's not gonna happen overnight.
Right.
And that's what people have to understand.
Right. And this, what we're talking about, has taken me 25 years to understand and put together to what we can do in an hour or two with a client. So time is much different once you figure out the process, put it together, because I've worked with my clients now for over 11 years. And it is a process. So this is like my life work of what I've uncovered.
So when you were living in the, what'd you call it?
An ashram. It's a
Okay.
spiritual living community. Yes.
Okay. How old were your kids?
At the time, my two children, they were 4 and 9.
Oh, okay. But did that experience have an impact on your kids that you're aware of?
Yes, because not only did we live there and we participated, they went to the school that was offered with the ashram. And I did their teacher training program. So it really changed my viewpoint on raising children. And so we would get up in the morning, they would go to school, they would have a morning yoga circle, they would do meditation, they would do all of their school activities. And it was very mindful, it was very calming, it was very peaceful. And then they learned skill sets to work through all of the different things and aspects that you would have in school. And it was a very life-changing experience for us in that. So today my children are much older. My son, he's 21. He and his girlfriend are both in the military and are engaged. My daughter, who's 17, will be graduating high school early. And then she's enrolling in college courses because for the program with the community college to have her CNA before she finishes high school and works full time. I don't know how she does it, but all of those things set them up for who they are today. They may not be totally aware of it, but they know when they have a problem or an issue, how to work through it themselves, because again, it's very empowering.
Did they transition into public schools?
They did. They did. They started out both in public school. I did a private Montessori for a while when I realized my son had some slight autistic tendencies and dyslexia. And then we went to the ashram. And then we did this year private school there. And then after that, it's all public school. And then because our environment changed again, my daughter is doing online school. So.
But so they were able to adapt, fit
Mhm.
in,
Right.
and excel.
They did. And what's interesting is they walked in and they had a different level of maturity when they went into public school. And they would often come home going, we were raised quite differently, weren't we, Mom? Because they just had a whole different, like, I didn't understand that people could be different ways of behavior. But they understood that they become the counselor for all of their friends because they know how to do it and they help their friends.
So you were saying that you have a book that's coming out. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's called Financially Fit. And what I'm doing in this book is talking about the energy of money, but from a different perspective. So I'm bringing in my skill set when I was a managing principal and a financial advisor to all of the energy healing and putting it together in this book, which is a foundation for a program that's going to come out, also called Financially Fit. So you can learn how to do this. But what I was realizing over the last couple of years was clients were saying, when we got down to the bottom of the energy of, well, I just want to know that I'm worthy and that I'm appreciated and I'm valued. Some would say, I want to feel safe and secure, because they didn't get those skills when they were younger. And I started looking at money and going, we use the same words in the financial world. People want to know, what is your net worth? What is your portfolio valued at? Is this investment safe and secure for me? And if we are vibrational beings and it's a vibrational universe, and if the universe doesn't know if you're talking about your money or yourself or your relationship to anybody, it's just reading the energy frequency. So how you feel about yourself is affecting your money supply and how you feel about it on a subconscious level. And when we shift and change those things, your money supply can increase, because the word has a frequency to it. And then you put the energy behind it. The universe is just reading what that is. I'll give you a funny example. I went and had lunch with a friend of mine, and I sat down and she goes, what is all this resistance about? And I'm like, what do you mean, this resistance? She goes, there's just all this resistance in your energy field. And I thought for a moment and I went, well, I was dating this one person for a while. I understand it's not really what I want and it's not working out. But so I kind of just been resisting and saying no. And she goes, knock it off. You know how this works. You're resisting everything. I'm like, okay, you're right. Thanks for the reminder. So it doesn't know if you appreciate money or not if you don't appreciate yourself, because it's just reading non-appreciation.
Wow.
That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's affecting everything.
It affects everything. Absolutely, because it's a vibration, it's a frequency, and we don't know what's in the subconscious always. So a client of mine came up, I was using him for a presentation example, and he said, I want to create more. My family and I were comfortable, but my children are getting a little bit older. There's a few things we want to do before they leave the house. I want to create a little bit more to do this. And I said, well, what does that feel like, not creating the more? And he said, frustrated. And he goes, everything I do, it doesn't work. I'm frustrated. So I uncovered where it was in the body. He felt it in his gut. And then we went back to a time where he originally felt it. And he said, I was 11, my parents were getting divorced. Well, that split up the more early in his life. And he kind of got put in the middle. So we worked through it. And I asked him what it was that he wanted. He goes, I just want to feel proud of my accomplishments. So we shifted that initial feeling, the energy in the event. The events stay the same. So his parents still got divorced, but instead of his memory being the struggle and the fight in between, he was, no, I'm happy and I'm riding my bicycle playing with my friends down the street. These things happened, but it didn't affect me in the same way. The knot and everything that he felt in his gut was completely gone in the moment. And in front of the audience, it looked like he dropped 20 pounds, because the energy, that heavy emotion, that density we were feeling and seeing was gone, and it was lighter. So he looked thinner. And then we looked forward to his business investments that he wanted and what he was creating, and he saw it from a whole different perspective. So that was a real simple example. In maybe 15, 20 minutes, we didn't go real deep into it to get to the big clearing of it, because it was just being used for the example, but kind of gives you an idea and the philosophy of how we can shift and change. But he didn't know that that was in there in the subconscious, and that was stopping him from him creating the more with his family.
It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly, until you know that you don't know.
Wow.
True. So how can our listeners reach out to you?
The best way is to go to my website, which is dawnacampbell.com. Dawna is DAWNA. So dawnacampbell.com. I'm also in social media. So either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can just type in my name. It'll come up in any one of those forums, and you can private message me and I will respond. So.
Good. And your book is coming out when?
Oh, January 2021.
Okay.
And it's called,
Will it be on Amazon?
it will be on Amazon, and I will have also an additional website called financiallyfitbook.com. So a couple of places you can order it from. But I'm looking at the last half of January for my publishing date.
Okay, great. Lorianne, did you have anything?
I found this really interesting. I love it. Thank you so much, Dawna. That's
Yeah.
it makes so much sense in so many ways. So I really appreciate this. Always learning something.
Yes, and thank you for having me. You guys are amazing.
Thanks.
I think it's because we really have that energy because we love what we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
Really
absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, for anybody who wants to find out more about Dawna, please dawnacampbell.com. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to meet you.
Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.